Hello, everybody. The intent of this particular video is to give you a very powerful study technique that will help you prepare not only for this course, but probably for a lot of your other courses. And I highly recommend incorporating this study technique into your daily practice and preparation for this course. It will make organizing this course in your preparation for the pre-tests and post-tests a lot more manageable and definitely improve your ability to succeed on either of those assignments. So what is entailed is getting 3x5 index cards and using those cards basically as flashcards. So given that this course is basically organized by lectures and having you respond to the lecture essays within each lecture, and the lecture being broken down into learning objectives, I highly suggest the following. Here we go. Let's bring up any lecture here. So here is the essay prompt, right? What I highly suggest doing is going through the material and just taking notes, whatever you do in your spiral notebook or whatever the case is in your notepad, taking notes as you go through the course based on the learning objectives. So I would physically write the learning objective down so you're more cognitive of what it is you are preparing for. And then as you're going through the material, clicking notes here, basically just writing down the pertinent information that will help you respond to this particular learning objective. This will be the first step in becoming familiar with the content. Once you are familiar, not memorizing it or being able to pass the exam, but you're familiar with it, right? Now you have an idea for this particular essay, what Jamestown is after you've gone through it, when it was founded, why it was founded, how it was founded, and all of that kind of thing. And you might have a little bit of understanding of the first few years of what happened, right? Just because you wrote the stuff down, right? You have access to the information now. This is where the index cards come in handy. On the index cards, physically write down this learning objective on one side of your index card. And on the other side, now that you're a little familiar with it, write down some bullet points that will that correspond to the most salient points of that particular learning objective, right? So you don't want to write a whole bunch because you're using these as flashcards. But you want to write enough to where your memory and your familiarity is stimulated to where the flashcard is functional for you. When you're done with that, you're going to move on to the next learning objective and the same thing, and the next learning objective, so on and so forth. If you do that for, let me just go to the unit page. If you do that for each lecture, the Age of Conquest, the development of slavery, salutary neglect, factors of the American Revolution. As you are working with each of these lectures and developing your responses to the essay prompt, a couple of things will happen for you. One, you'll become very familiar with it because you want to carry these flashcards, these index cards, wherever you go. So I would make whatever, for whatever, how many learning objectives there are per lecture. So for this particular one, there's 3 learning objectives. So you're going to have 3 index cards, right? Get a paper clip and paper clip that particular lecture index cards, paper clip these index cards, so on and so forth. And then as you're standing in line at the grocery store, waiting for dinner to get ready, something's cooking, waiting for your kids to get home, whatever the case is, just as you're going through your day, sit there and drill yourself every once in a while on a particular lecture. So one, you'll develop familiarity with that. You'll definitely develop familiarity with the expectation of the lecture essay prompt because you'll become very familiar with each learning objective, which is the outline, right? And the other thing, too, is when it comes time for you to take the pre-test or post-test, it would be very wise to sit down with your index cards and kind of test yourself, go through each learning objective for each particular lecture, and it will tell you within your own mind really quick where you're strong in each lecture and where you're weak. So you flash yourself, you drill yourself for learning objective 1 for the Age of Conquest, and you've got that one down, right? No problem. You're able to think about it. Maybe you can use these index cards to go, okay, I'm going to write now, based on this flashcard and what I see for the learning objective, a paragraph area. You can do that, no problem, for learning objective 1. You do it for learning objective 2 as well, no problem. You've got that you're very well familiar with that. You know the pertinent dates, you know the pertinent historical characters, the concepts, any laws or battles, whatever the case is, you're familiar with it, right? But you get to learning objective 3 and you're able to write down a few things, but man, I'm still a little unclear. So what that will tell you immediately is, oh, I need to go back, not through the entire lecture, right, but just to go back to learning objective 3. So I'm going to go through that and take down whatever notes I need to take down, go through it, and that probably will help me, right? And if you do this for each lecture as you go in preparation for the pre-test or post-test, you will find this technique, most students do, very helpful. Just a bit of background of when I found this technique, I went back to college, probably like a lot of you, I'm assuming, when I was a little older, right? I was in my late 20s when I went back to college, seriously. And it was very difficult for the first couple of years because I did not have a lot of, well, tricks of the trade, right? But I would talk to other students that seemed to be not only successful in college, but relaxed and happy to be there. And what I found with those people was that they had study techniques that were very powerful and very helpful. And once I incorporated this technique and applied it where it was relevant to whatever subject matter, it was incredibly helpful. School, not only was I successful in many of my classes, but I was actually very relaxed about the classes. I found myself a lot less stressed. Let me put it this way. I wasn't anxious, right? Stress is part and parcel of anything that you care about, right? Especially when it comes to college, you care about your time, you care about your effort. Stress comes with that dynamic. What you want to avoid as a student is anxiety, right? Because that leads to being exhausted, it leads to depression, it leads to people just giving up. So don't do that, right? Use this technique. I guarantee you, well, you know, everyone's mind is different, but most students who apply this technique, it works for them. So give it a try. Give it a try. See if it works for you. Basically the secret behind it is you got to do it regularly. It's not something that you do once or twice and you should understand it. It's something you have to do on a regular basis. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Let me know if you have any questions, concerns, or just need simple clarification. See you later. Bye-bye.